Hey everybody. Well, I'm trying to get some work done on the flatbed, and I got a few problems solved. Because I didn't have a fuel gauge on the thing, and so I figured out that I could how the system worked, and it wasn't too obvious trying to look it up, but so I ended up putting in this. It's got dual fuel tanks, so I put a new fuel pump in the main tank. I mean, the old pump is still working, but I wasn't sure if the fuel gauge. In fact, here's the old pump right here, and this is the the float goes up and down inside the tank, and that's the controls the fuel gauge. But the pump was working, and so but I went ahead and just put a new aftermarket fuel pump in there. And then here's the rear tank, which wasn't even hooked up. But the rear tank here does not have a pump in it. This is not a fuel pump that goes in the rear tank here. The way this system works is around the other side here. This thing has an inline fuel pump that goes from the rear tank, and right there's the inline fuel pump, and then it pumps fuel from the rear tank to the front tank. So when the truck takes the fuel out of the front tank and the main tank, and it starts to get low, this pump, inline pump, kicks in, pumps fuel from the rear tank to fill up the front tank, the main tank. So the inline pump was not working. So now I put the new fuel pump in. It works. I bought one pump, the cheapo aftermarket pump. It wouldn't pump. It didn't pump at all. I don't know if it was faulty to begin with or what, but it didn't work. So then I bought, that's an OEM pump. Spent 3 times the money, but it's working. So the fuel gauge is working now. Oh, and the other thing on this, the inside here, this connection right here, this connector was not making contact for the fuel gauge to work in the rear pump. Or, yeah, I should say in this rear pickup, because there's no pump in there. But I got that cleaned up. I got the contacts cleaned and fixed. So everything's working on the fuel system now. So the other thing I did was I undercoated all the frame and the top of the rails, because I took off the flatbed, as you can see, and cleaned this up, pressure washed it, and put some undercoating on the rails, because there's a 2x3 that sits on here on top of these main rails, and that's what the flatbed sits on. Got all the wiring disconnected. I had to cut all the mounts, the mounting U-bolts off the flatbed, because the nuts were not coming off of those, and they had welded this piece of channel up onto the frame. So I had to cut that. I just cut that with a torch. I'm going to take and put a piece of 1/2-inch flat bar here and just run a strip in there and weld the top. I might just Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to figure out how to do that. Probably just weld it back together. But that's the only other thing besides the 4 clamps. Well, there's one little piece of strapping right here that I torched off also, because the nuts bolts wouldn't come off. I don't know if I'll even replace that or not. I think they added that there because that's where the 5th wheel goes across. It's on the bed, and since I don't use a 5th wheel, I'm not going to worry about it too awful much. But I have been working on the bed. The bed had some pretty good rust in it, but the back chunk here, I cut this off completely, and on this back piece of channel there was like a 1/2 inch thick buildup of rust underneath this going to the rear lights. I cut all that off, just cut that all down, and I'm going to replace the whole back piece here. I'm going to put new lights, new tail lights, LED lights in there, and get that going. That should work good. I got new clearance lights to put on it. I coated the top. The bed it's got a couple spots, like right here where it rusted through, where the frame was underneath of it, where the channel runs through. There's only a couple spots where it had that much rust. Most of it's pretty solid. So I recoated the top with some bed coat. Got that done. That turned out okay. I gotta took off this piece. There's a piece of steel that was covering this on the headache rack. Took that all off, cleaned out these. This channel was rusted out because it was filled up with crud in there. So I'm gonna beef this up here, and add some new gussets in there. Cover the back here with a strip, weld it all in. And I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead, and when I add another piece in here, I think I'm going to put it on the front, on the outside, not next to the cab. So it's mounted from this side, and just run it up into this piece of angle that's here. So run it up inside this piece of angle and weld it to the inside of this what is about 1.5 inch or 2 by 4 inch stuff here. So it's run up inside, and then weld it to the bed, directly to the bed, and not to this front channel, because the moisture would get up in there between the channel and the plate and just cause it to rust out. I think that'll work a little better. And then I took the old, well, it had the baskets here that were mounted up under the inside for hauling stuff, which is okay, but like I say, if you're in the snow or in the mud, you're flipping. All it's gonna do is flip the stuff up into this, and if you got chains or binders or straps or anything sitting in these baskets, they're just gonna get all muddy. So I went ahead and got some toolboxes or storage boxes to put under the front. I just got the aluminum boxes. I'm gonna build a steel frame to go around and to mount those boxes up in there so they can be removed if I want to. And then here's the first half of where the new taillights are going to go. So 1/2. Get the one cut out. I'll get the other one done, get them welded in there, and then get the new got all new U-bolts. Got new U-bolts for mounting it. Mounting the thing back on there. And get this mounted back up, and then I can figure out what I'm going to do with the transmission on that rig. Well, that's it for now. I got welding to do today. Take care, everybody.